Okay, so it is 7 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order. We get agenda in front of us. Is there any changes or additions to the agenda? As I hear or see none. Councillor Hughes,
Motion to accept the agenda as presented.
any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. I'd also like to do a quick land acknowledgement and say that in the spirit of respect, authenticity and reconciliation, the town of Slave Lake honors and acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional lands of the Sovereign First Nation within Treaty 8 territory, home to Indigenous, Métis and Inuit people who have occupied these lands since time immemorial. We're short a couple of councillors here tonight for various reasons, and I have a in-depth personal confession to make tonight, live on camera. My sciatic nerve is driving me nuts here today. So if I get up and start walking around, it's because I can't stand to sit in this chair anymore. So I just wanted everyone to know. We've got two delegations tonight. I see one of them is here and one isn't. So let's start with the Slave Lake Motocross Association. If you guys want to come up over here, we'll turn on the mic, introduce yourselves. We've got the information that you've submitted, but if there's anything else you want to add, we'd love to hear it.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Luke Bondermill. I'm the Vice President of the Slave Lake Motocross Association.
And
Yes.
I'm Alicia Vondermill. I am the president of the Slave Lake Motocross Association.
Are you guys related?
Oh, yeah, we
Maybe.
might be. She's my boss in this case.
Okay.
So, yeah, so just I'm coming to council tonight on behalf of the Slave Lake Motocross Association, hoping we can plead for tax exemption for the town property taxes. Don't really have anything to add. I was just going to read your presentation.
Go for it.
That's okay. Okay. So as many of you, as you all may be aware, a group of us has formed a not-for-profit association. After over a year of fundraising, volunteering and hard work, we've secured a lease on the old motocross track on the Flat Top Road. We spent hundreds of man hours, volunteer time cleaning up the track area. It was a mess. It was really full of garbage, old steel, wood, tires. Pretty much everything you can imagine was out there. A lot of help from some local companies. We got some dumpsters, skid steers, lots of manpower, and we managed to get the area cleaned up. Again, with help of local companies, we had the whole area brushed, reclaimed it from the forest. Some of the trees in there were 15 feet high, and the track was pretty grown over. So got that all clear. Gates and fencing were pretty much, a lot of it was knocked down. We've got that all repaired. Signs put all around it for safety, which again was all done by volunteers and donations and in-kind work. Finally got our paperwork and insurance in place this spring. We were able to open the track mid-May. So far we got 25 members and we sold a lot of day passes. Excuse me. We sold a lot of day passes over the summer, but even with this, the track really isn't sustainable with this funding only. Trying to keep fees affordable with individual memberships costing $250, family memberships $300. Day passes we're selling for $25, and after 5 p.m. we started doing $15 evening passes. So far we've raised about $6,100 on passes and memberships this year, and our expenses are over $10,000. Next year, just open the gates, we need almost $7,000, and that's a lot to do with just insurance, AP lease, and a few other costs. That doesn't include any fuel, any costs for maintenance, track prep. That stuff we're pretty much getting all donated. So we've done a lot of work. We've been working hard volunteering at different events, doing designated driving to raise extra money that we need to operate the track and to meet our goals. So far this year, we've earned over $9,000 doing that. So that's stuff like Ames Lucan, lots of Christmas parties, golf tournaments, yeah, curling. So yeah, made some pretty good money at that. We also need money for various capital projects. We need to rebuild that announcers tower, figure about $10,000 to do that. The old one's unsafe, needs to be removed. Need to upgrade fencing around the track, which is required by insurance and for safety. Think about $5,000. We need a new tractor, a used tractor. We're not real sure, but probably around 60 grand is kind of what we think. We need some implements to that tractor, plow and a disc, and looking probably about 8 grand for some used ones. Same, we need to buy pumps, hoses, miscellaneous equipment for watering the track, which is required to hold races. And we want to rebuild the water system, so another 10 grand there. And we're hoping a lot of that we can get donations to cover, because we can't obviously afford it. As part of our lease with AEP, we're responsible to reclamate this track if we're ever to close. And we're estimating that of $100,000 to clean that up, put it back to bed. So we hope never to go there, but we're going to put $5,000 a year into a fund just to fund that if it ever happens someday. We really need the help of the business community to loan equipment and sponsor us, as well as people to come out and help with the work, so we can keep the track viable and eventually hold a race or yearly races. Once we can do this, it will help with our funding as we keep part of the profits from the races. This will also help bring people into the area for the weekend. Now, the racers, this will also help bring people into the area for the weekends that the races are on, bringing businesses into town. We'll provide entertainment for anyone in the community who wants to watch, or obviously people who want to come out and race. Our goal is to host a race to this one of the various motocross groups in Alberta. We're active with the Alberta Dirt Riders Association and have been talks to them to host a race in Slave Lake. We're also looking to join the PMA, the Peace Region Motorsports Association, and to help put us on the map and hold a race in the future. So we're just talking to them, and it's looking really good. They really want to have a race here. So that's Fort St. John, all northern BC, northern Alberta. It's easier to get people from the north here than it is from the south.
Okay.
So that's, yeah, we're looking to do that. We'd like to hold for sure one race, if not two. As you can see, we're struggling financially and are coming to council to ask for municipal property tax exemption under section 362 of the Alberta Municipal Tax Act. We believe that we qualify for this under the sports and recreation with a focus on youth, as well as sports and recreation with a focus on adult. We're nonprofit organization, fall into the sports category. We meet the basic requirements for both youth and adult. We meet the accessibility requirements with the additional consideration requirements, as due to insurance and liability requirements that anyone on site must have signed a waiver. This includes riders and spectators. There's no cost to be on site as a spectator, and waivers can be signed for a season by anyone who wants to come out regularly. We believe this will benefit the community. We've already cleaned up the area, fixed the track, made it safe for people to ride on. So give the youth in the area a safe area to ride, hopefully keep them off the roads and out of the ditches. Hosting races will hopefully bring more interest to the sport in town and bring people into the town to ride. And I think there'll be an economic benefit to the track and the town, bringing in typically over 100 riders and their families and friends. So some of the races we've been to, they're packed. There's 100, up to 200 riders and some, I think.
And then average family size of 4.
4 or
usually
5
looking
people, so they can bring a lot of
100
people in. Lots will camp, lots will come use hotels, obviously support the restaurants, things like that. So anyways, yeah, we hope you'll be able to help us with this property tax exemption to keep us viable. This has gone on for months now. We've incurred penalties on our taxes and asked that if we cannot be granted the exemption, that at least the penalties are reversed. Thank you for your consideration. If you have any
Okay.
questions.
I'd like to start by saying that, I know that things like this require a ton of work. And as much as it's great for us to have facilities in this community, it's realistically the associations, the organizations that put in the work to be able to use them. And in this instance, it's not even a town facility. It's something you guys have taken on all on your own. And a lot of people seem to be using it. A lot of people excited about it, and you guys have a lot of different options there for people stopping in. I've seen some of your stuff on your social media pages. We actually have people coming from other communities, want to camp that weekend, go use the track. And I think it's great. One of our things on council is about economic development and promoting a community and working with tourism, whatever else. And that brings a whole nother demographic that may not be coming to our community on a regular basis. So to see you guys growing that, and I recognize the amount of hours that go into volunteering to make that work. Just want to say a big thank you to you and your whole organization for doing that. My question would be around, there's no amount in here.
For property taxes?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I have that here, actually. So I think our tax was 1839 and we're up to 1986 penalties now.
1986,
Yeah, 1986-60 we're at with penalties at the end of September.
1,986.60.
1,986.60.
Can anyone from administration, I know Laura, you've been working with them or whatever. My impression, my understanding is that because this used to be a viable organization out there or whatever else, we had this piece going and it was my understanding we didn't charge taxes before. Or don't know.
I don't know.
Okay. No worries. I'll let, sorry, any other members of council, any questions or comments? Councillor Adams.
Well, that was, you kind of touched on what my big question was what's the amount and what's the ask, but it's not just the penalties you're asking to be waived, you're asking for the entire tax, right?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? As I see none, typically what happens in these type of scenarios is we would send something back to administration to basically dig into this. Have we done this before, or the cost or the implications or whatever else? But the fact that we know this less than $2,000, realistically, I know that we do lots more than that to help a lot of other organizations. What's that?
That's the penalty, not
The penalties, no, with
No,
penalty,
no,
it's 1,800 and some, and with penalty, it's $1,986.60.
Yeah, yeah. If that's the penalty, we'd be crying here.
And so I think for the taxpayers of Slave Lake to have something going on in this community and region that they can use distracting other people for investment for the town of Slave Lake of $1,986.60, I think it's money well spent. So I would make a motion that we waive the taxes and penalties for the Slave Lake Motocross Association for this calendar year. And if administration could bring back some information in regards to municipal property tax exemption 362 for doing it for future years. You want two separate motions? Okay, so first one is to waive the $1,986.60 for taxes and penalties for this year. Motion is on the floor. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. And then a subsequent motion to task administration to bring back information on potentially waiving it for future years so that administratively it doesn't have to happen every year. Motions on the floor. Any discussion? Call the question. Those go. Yeah, go. Councilor Brandel.
Sorry, do we have to, do you guys have to do this every year or are we?
Well, it's the
doing-
idea is
Review,
administration will
that's
look
what
and
you're-
see what this exemption is or whatever else. And if we haven't
Okay.
charged it in previous years, that we just clean it up so that they don't have to make it an administrative
Okay.
thing every year.
Yeah, and if we could look into the history of the last time they were in business too. So I don't think that they were paying property taxes last time either, so.
Yeah, the couple guys are on our executive now that were there then, and they said they never paid taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know how that was done administratively, so yeah.
So motion on the floor for administration, bring back some information. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you. So next on here, we have another delegation, but I see that the resident is not here. That being said, the information is provided. And I do have a comment on this. So essentially, there seems like a resident came to pay our taxes, screwed up and did something with utilities. We have a penalty of $62.62. They'll like us to waive. Realistically, the way the policy is set up right now is that any things when it comes to waiving this stuff has to come to council. But I think we should look at that policy and maybe give the CAO a little bit of discretion there, so they have some power to deal with some of the stuff internally. Totally. So,
Totally, what's our policy?
well, no, you know, if we can do it, why wouldn't we, right? Like, we need to give some latitude so that, you know.
Right. Are you thinking of a set dollar amount then, or?
Yeah, like ideally, what I'd like to do is start with a motion that we task administration to bring back a policy review of CAO responsibilities in regards to waiving of fees. and potentially give them a limit of $250 or $500 or $800 or whatever else. Council can decide that at the time. That we give some latitude basically to, that they can play with that amount. Like right now, I know like if you phone, you have the ability on utility bills, an example, that the CAO has the ability to waive deposits for you. So we're already giving latitude in some areas, but $62.62, you can't make an administrative decision. That seems silly. So motion on the floor to look at that administratively. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. I guess the biggest question is what do we do with the 6262 in the meantime? And so the resident isn't here, but do we know anything from administration on whether or not?
Do you want to speak to it?
The information that was given was that she did make a payment, but put in the wrong account number. So it went to a different account. So we do have record of the payment being made for the amount that was due, just it went to the utility account, not the tax account.
Okay,
So that's where the penalty stems from.
okay. So that seems pretty straightforward. Councillor Adams.
I'll make the motion to. Hang on here. Oh, we don't even have it in here. I'll make a motion to waive the penalty of 6263. 6262 in property taxes.
For Anne Marie.
Yeah.
Because we don't have account number or anything on here.
No, that's what I was trying to find on here.
That's fine. Motion on the floor. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. Okay, let's jump into minutes of previous meetings. So on page 13 in our package, we have minutes from October 4th. Any issues, changes? If not, Councillor Brandel.
I make a motion that we accept the meeting minutes for October 4th as presented.
Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Next, we have the minutes from organizational meeting on October 18th on page 20 in our package. Any issues? Councillor Hughes. We switched spots here. It's very
Motion to accept the minutes of the organizational meeting on October 18th as presented.
Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Lastly, we have minutes from the regular meeting on October 18th. Any discussion? Councillor Adams.
I'll make a motion to accept the regular meeting of council of October 18th, 2022 as presented.
Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? It's carried. I thought there was some big thing in there, the way you just like kind of lit up and yeah, you were ready to go now. Okay. Reports and new business. So page 32, what's that? Oh, yeah, sorry, question period. So we have a spot in here, question period, where CEO wants to bring up anything that can, we can ask any questions that we have. Mr. Simpson, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Nothing for tonight. No.
Okay, any questions from council? Councillor Hughes?
I have one for you, Jeff. So I see our beautiful new lights have gone up downtown and they look really amazing. I've gotten lots of positive feedback on those today. I actually had so much positive feedback that I had a local nonprofit group asking the town to change the lighting to kind of coincide with a week that they're doing to raise awareness. So I'm just wondering on our policy or procedures moving forward for the light, should groups be asking to change colors and kind of how we're going to be structuring that and handling that at the town?
Yeah, so currently we don't have a policy that's reflective of that. And it would be a good idea, I think, for administration to bring back such a
Perfect.
recommendation as it relates to that, and potentially even tying in or amalgamating some of our policy as it relates to flags or special requests for half masting or display of ceremonial flags or whatever the case may be. So
Yeah.
it would be a good idea if council was supportive of that, to make a motion to request that to be brought back.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I would love to make that motion to task administration to look into creating a policy around, sorry, what were all the things you said? The lighting, possible flags. What else am I missing there, Jeff?
Or special
Et cetera, yeah.
ceremonies, yeah, et cetera.
Perfect. Thank you.
Motion on the floor. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? It's carried. Any other questions for Mr. Simpson? Going once, going twice, sold. Lori, let's jump into page 32.
Okay, your worship and members of council, the purpose of the report for this evening is to get a decision on the endeavor to assist development agreement with Dog Island Brewing and 1262857 Alberta Limited. Dog Island Brewing and the numbered company are looking at constructing a low pressure sanitary sewer main and service connections for Dog Island Brewing, as well as 2 adjacent lots owned by 1262857 Alberta Limited. So the applicant is Ben Fiddler with Dog Island Brewing and Abe Peters with 1262857 Alberta Limited. Subject properties are listed there for you. They're 200, 250, and 300 Caribou Trail Southwest. The planning department's been working with Mr. Fiddler on an endeavor to assist development agreement that would allow the developers to construct the low pressure sanitary sewer main line and service connections for the 3 industrial properties. This agreement has been drafted by Brownlee when Mr. Peters was contemplating this project several years back. As such, it was modified slightly for this project. It ensures the town's interests in the development are protected, and the agreement has been drafted in accordance with existing town policies and town development standards and procedures. So a brief outline, the scope of the project would include construction of a low pressure sanitary sewer main that will extend from Fournier underneath and crossing Caribou Trail Southwest to the west side of the road. It will then extend north to service Mr. Peters' lot adjacent to the railway tracks, or 200 Caribou Trail, and then south past the southerly limit of Mr. Peters' lot 300 Caribou Trail Southwest, so that can it be extended further south in the future. The project scope will also include a service connection to each of the 3 subject lots as shown on Schedule A of the agreement, as well as the map attached to this report. The agreement defines the project scope and outlines the process for approval and acceptance of engineer drawings and construction and acceptance of the required municipal infrastructure. The agreement also outlines all obligations of the developer and the town with respect to the construction and acceptance of that municipal infrastructure. Security will be provided in the form of an irrevocable letter of credit equivalent to 50% of the estimated construction costs. And that would be provided prior to the start of construction. Schedule B defines the benefiting lands, which was determined by Jeff Fetter Associated Engineering. When and if adjacent benefiting landowners advise that they want to connect to the sanitary sewer line, they would be notified of their obligation to pay their proportionate share of the cost to the developer. And that payment would be triggered upon a commitment to connect to the subject main line. As the developers will be required to construct municipal infrastructure that benefits future landowners, the agreement also provides the developers an ability to collect. That's been laid out in Schedule G. The town's obligation with respect to this is to notify future landowners of that obligation. So in this event, the town doesn't attempt to collect those funds from the developers, but does advise of the requirement to pay. The developer will be required to submit actual construction costs once they're complete, and then we'll update the calculations for the benefiting lands. Schedule F outlines fees payable by the developer. So there's 2 options: refuse to enter into the agreement. Negative outcomes is it will induce further negotiations or delay a construction start. Option 2, agree to enter into the agreement, and the low pressure sanitary sewer line will be constructed, and developers and adjacent landowners would be able to connect their lots to this service. The planning department is recommending council enters into the endeavor to assist development agreement with Dog Island Brewing and 1262857 Alberta Limited for this construction of a low pressure sanitary sewer main line and service connections for Dog Island Brewing, as well as the 2 lots owned by Mr. Peters.
Okay,
Any questions?
questions from council? I will start. So Lori, you know what? I missed the last one when you guys did this in the other, in the north end of the industrial area. So from my own understanding, so after it's built, we assume responsibility for it. So in the future, if there's anything wrong with it, we deal with it, or they pay for it.
Well, it's part of each of that. So when it's they've done construction, they contact the town and they ask for a initial acceptance or construction completion.
Okay.
We go out, we look at it. If there's no deficiencies, the town usually issues the IAC, initial acceptance certificate. What happens then is we reduce down security to cover deficiencies and to secure that infrastructure for a 2-year warranty period. The 2-year warranty starts, and during that warranty, the developer is responsible for the maintenance of the system for those 2 years. At the end of the 2-year period, they ask for another inspection. We go back out, and if everything's good and there's no issues, we issue a final acceptance certificate, and the infrastructure then becomes the town of Slave Lakes, and we give back the last bit of money we're holding.
Okay, perfect. I have no other questions. Counselor Adams.
I'd like to move that council enters into the endeavor to assist development agreement with Dog Island Brewing and 1262857 AB Limited for the construction of a low pressure sanitary sewer main line and service connections for Dog Island Brewery located at Plan 1024857 Block 4 Lot 7, 250 Caribou Trail Southwest, as well as services connections for 2 parcels owned by 1262857 AB Limited, being Plan 9525386 Lot 3, 200 Caribou Trail Southwest, and Plan 0840706 Block 4 Lot 6, 300 Caribou Trail Southwest. And that's split over 2 pages. I was not expecting it to be that long.
Yeah, and I got bad news here. Jordan just sent me a message, or he missed it on the live. We just need to do it. Motion is on the floor. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Electric vehicle charger project update, Kush, page 59.
Good evening, your worship and members of council. The purpose of this report is to update council on the EV charger project. Early in February this year, town administration secured a grant amount of $143,000 from Municipal Climate Change Action Center for installation of EV charger close to the library. Later, last council meeting, administration presented a report to council detailing the cost proposed by ATCO Electric to install a new transformer for the EV charger at the library location. The new transformer would allow us to get a separate meter with D23 rate group, which would eventually keep the power cost significantly down. The only drawback to that proposal was that any expenses prior to meter would be at the town's expense, and the cost for transformer in the range of approx 50,000 would be ineligible under grant agreement. During that report presentation, council directed administration to look into possibility of installing charger at MRC and verify any additional cost to tie in to the existing transformer there. So we talked with ATCO, and they verified that the tying of the charger to the existing transformer at MRC is feasible. They figured it will take them 4 to 6 crew hours to isolate the transformer to allow us for a connection to the new hardware. There will be some additional costs in the range of 6,000 to 7,000 because ATCO requires to do minimal disruptions to the ground. So we would have to use Hydrovac in order to go under the meter, under the transformer and tie it into the transformer. And it would also, that cost also includes buying a 10-meter long cable that will connect transformer to the new meter base. So in total, town's expense will be approximately 8,000 plus GST, and the rest will be covered by the grant. So council may choose either of the option, like we can proceed with either you can proceed with MRC location for charger install or proceed with library location for charger install. And the third option is do not proceed with EV charger install at all.
Okay, Councilor Brandel.
So thank you for pursuing this option, because $8,000 is way better than 50 that you brought to us last report. So I will make a motion
Go for it.
that I move that council directs administration to complete the installation of the EV charger at the MRC.
Okay. Councilor Adams.
Just clarification in my head, I'm trying to picture where this is on the map. Where would the charge spots be?
At the MRC?
Yeah.
You know, we have a little bit of green space in adjacent to parking stall. where you could see a green box. I don't have a photo attached to the report, but
North side, west side.
I would say out the front door.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so it's right
Yes.
near the front?
Yes,
Ah,
yes,
okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Other questions? So to be clear, it's $8,000 to put it at the MRC? Or it's $8,000 to put it here?
No, no. So original plan was to tie it into our electrical panel here to the existing meter.
So that's the 50,000, the 49, whatever?
Yes, so the issue with that was when you tie it into existing meter, you are, you
Right,
will,
we're subject to the contract that's already there.
Yes,
The
exactly.
other one,
so that was 50,000, right?
okay, and so the cost at MRC is 8,000.
Yes.
Okay, well, I don't want to spend 50,000. Okay. Motions on the floor. Any further discussion? What's the timeline to get it done?
Probably early spring.
Probably early spring, okay. Call the question, those in favor? That's carried.
Thank you.
Kush, before you go, while you're sitting there.
Okay.
Can you touch on just 2 seconds, the downtown construction stuff that's going on?
Okay.
What does the scope of that look like moving forward? So we still have to add XYZ and the timeline for that is,
So the only thing left on the existing plaza is the center sign and the information kiosk sign, which would probably be installed early spring.
okay,
And then we also decided to extend our scope, the overall design to the east walkway.
Yeah.
Which would again happen early spring. So when I was talking to a contractor, they could earliest mobilize as soon as the frost is out. So by end of May, it would take them at least 6 weeks to complete that east walkway because they would have to minimize the disruption to the businesses. They would do 2 businesses at a time.
okay,
And that would take them at least 6 to 8 weeks to complete that east walkway.
okay. So
Yeah.
realistically, a little bit of signage and kind of art
Yes,
stuff there on the west side, east side we'll play with in the spring. I
yes.
thought we still had some benches or tables or something there.
So benches and tables, we are trying to line that up with, because we are ordering some for the new splash park.
Yeah.
So we will find a supplier who can supply benches for both the plaza, and then we will just like put a big order before end of this year.
Okay, so the intention is to put some
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to be clear on. Okay. That was it. Thanks,
Okay.
Kush.
Thank you.
So we have some more stuff in closed session here tonight, but Mayor's Corner, I got a few things. So first off, same thing, getting lots of compliments about downtown, how the lighting looks. I know that Councillor Hughes sent something right away today. Hey, could we go to Purple to support Northern Haven's work and some of their work that they're doing? Got another request there. Actually, can you change it to this color for another project that we're working on? So getting some clarity on how that would work would probably be good, but it's great to see the excitement of people down there. It'd be more exciting even in the spring when we have everything there and encouraging groups to use it. Word on the grapevine there on the street is maybe that somebody might be using it later this month. And so that's great. That's what we built it for. The idea is to get people downtown. It's to create an experience down there. And I think it's fantastic. So frustration obviously comes from the fact that there are manpower issues. There are manpower issues with our contractor throughout that. There are manpower issues with concrete. There's manpower issues with busing these days. And I can tell you running restaurants ain't much different. So labor affects the ability of projects to get done on time. And I don't think that that's going to drastically change anytime soon. Slave Lake continues to be, I think one of the busiest places in the province. I spent some time talking about a vlog there yesterday about that. There's a lot of great things that come with that. Housing is full and restaurants are busier, hotels are full. But there's issues that come with that too, that we don't have enough people and there's too much stuff going on. So patience will be a big part of things moving forward, and businesses will have to be resourceful to figure out how they deal with some of those needs. Speaking of dealing with some of those needs, we'll jump into capital budget discussion on Monday. So it's a big one for council. One of the big things obviously is the loss of approximately $1 million a year in MSI funding. We've been meeting with ministers there previously. We had an intermunicipal meeting on Monday where we voiced our concerns to potential future MLAs. that have announced that they're running. That's a huge significant impact to municipalities. And I've talked about it before. I'm not going to talk about it again, but it's a big piece. Speaking of intermunicipal, our council has basically accepted that the intermunicipal agreement and the fire services agreement are good with the small changes that we have made. We've approved it. The MD council had brought it back for a couple small revisions again. 4 of our council members were there on Monday. It's only Tuesday, right? That was just yesterday. That we went through that, and there's really substantial changes. It was more on grammar and that sort of thing. So I don't see any changes happening there. And they were good as well. So I think they were going through it today to make a motion to approve it or not. Did anyone go to the council meeting? He was in camera. Okay. Okay, well, so we'll follow up and see what happens with that one. Another big topic of discussion there that came up from some of the MD council as well was talking about the feedback of how busy things are, and the oil field's so busy, and they're hearing the same things. Or Red Earth is starting to get busier. They're bringing in camps. It's a great time to be in Slave Lake. That being said, it was talked about that we need to be aggressive when it comes to industrial land. And so we have a significant issue right now that we do not have enough industrial land right now, as there's businesses that want to come and do something, but all our shops are full and we have no empty lots for you to go on. And so the MD was very passionate about the fact that, hey, we need to look into this box and figure something out. And so council will be meeting on that in the next couple of weeks. Lori will be bringing a presentation. She's going to then go the next day. We're meeting with intermunicipal because we have to have something figured out there. But it was very nice and refreshing to hear that it's not just a town of Slave Lake concern, but others as well. I did touch on budget, and so a reminder out to the public. Some information came out today that council is reaching out to the public for some feedback. Budget's a tough one when we're trying to figure out how do we maintain our service levels, how do we improve in some areas. And how do we deal with inflation? And so we're looking for some feedback in the form of what would you like to see us spend more on and less on, and what service levels do you want to maintain, and what would you give up? So I encourage residents to go online and fill some of that information out. And we look forward to the responses in the coming weeks. One other thing to note that I think is good to note, CAO Mr. Simpson and I are meeting with a big company that's interested in doing some work in Slave Lake and has shown interest in the past. A developer that does a lot of bigger size developments. And so the owner of that company and their team are coming up. We'll be touring them around the community, show them some potential sites for some high density residential, to show them what's going on with commercial, to show them what's going on with industrial, because the town really isn't a developer, and we need to attract some interest of developers to come in and add more capacity. And so I think it's fantastic, and it shows just how well the economy is doing when you have those people approaching us. So look forward to that on Friday. Lastly, big decision to be made tomorrow. And so there was an SCAB hearing that was supposed to happen last week that was put off. It's one that definitely has the passion of a lot of different people there on both sides that say it's a good idea or it's a bad idea. And what I keep hearing is that it's not a bad idea. It's just location is always the issue. And location doesn't seem like it will ever not be an issue. But if it's always an issue, I don't understand how we actually change anything or fix anything. So that being said, we had some issues that we needed to get some more legal advice. And based on that, luckily we're able to proceed tomorrow, but had to change some of the members there that were voting. And thankfully, we've got some people coming down from Big Lakes County to help us out so that the appeal will still go ahead, because 2 of the board members had to step away, myself included. And so that brings up an interesting point that during our organizational meeting, there was discussion about changing up some of our committees. And I've been on SDAB actually for a long time, and it's good for somebody else to go and do that. And I was remaining on there until this appeal was done. So because there's a time that has to take for the elected officials to get the training to be able to sit. We knew we had appeals coming up. But now that I won't be sitting on the one tomorrow anyway, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Counselor Adams to SDAB. And that I be removed from it so that he can move forward and get the training and be ready for the next appeal when it comes up. Motion is on the floor. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Lastly, one of the committees I did take on was the Children's Resource Council, which is an interesting committee all on its own and lots of learning to going on there. I'm definitely neck deep in that one. Other than that, that's probably a lot and enough for today. Oh, we got a big ANSA meeting coming up, Alberta North Central Alliance. I've been quiet on that one for a while. We were able to secure a grant for over $200 and some thousand to do some strategic planning. It's the one where we have 5 First Nations and 5 municipalities working together. And so we haven't met for a few months, but we'll be coming together here on Thursday, spending the day together, hopefully move some of those projects forward. And excited to see that group working together again. With that, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session. Thank you, Councillor Adams. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried.